Well, hello, welcome back. It's been a while since I've uploaded anything to this channel, but I'm looking to make a valiant return. I've been extremely busy with my day job, teaching, and I've had a lot of developments and things I'm working on. But now I've got some time where I want to devote to creating content and making things for you guys to hopefully help on your game development journey. That's the point that I'm here. That's the thing I do, and that's what I want to help with. So I've been a bit busy over the past few months, including getting my Unreal Engine Authorized Instructor badge. So now I'm authorized to teach Unreal Engine from Epic, which is a really cool thing. I'm really happy with that. And hope that means that you guys have a bit more trust in what I do, hopefully. This is a bit of a continuation on from my previous video, which was covering sort of the introductions to inputs and movement in Unreal Engine. And I want to continue that on. So we started off with movement and getting a character working from scratch. Then I want to continue this on by actually creating some interaction. So first part of your game is to be able to control your character and walk around and move. And the second part is to actually do things. And that gives you somewhat of a foundation of a game. And that's what we're looking at doing in this series. Initially, this series was going to focus on creating sort of like a first-person shooter. But on reflection, actually, it's not really the direction I want to go in. You know, I might incorporate some first-person shooter aspects into this as well. There are many tutorials online for first-person shooters, and I've had some lovely feedback from you guys about the way that I teach in terms of going through all of the details. You know, why am I using this certain blueprint, this certain node? Why am I doing it in this way? And going into depth, and that's what I want to do. I don't want to give you guys code you can just copy and use and make it work. But you're not learning anything. I want you guys to actually take this away and understand what each node is doing, why it's doing that, and how it's functioning. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to continue with that. So let's get the ball rolling and start doing some blueprinting. So the first thing I want to cover is line tracing and tracing in general, and using that as a way to interact with the 3D world. I also want to cover some interactive interfaces, which will allow us to bridge the gap between different blueprints and allow us to have some interactability in there. We're going to build a system that allows us to create a dynamic interaction system, which will allow it to be expandable, and we can use it for multiple different things. And I'm going to cover each step and what we're doing and why we're doing it. So to start off, we need to look at creating some inputs to allow us to then interact with a certain key press or a certain button controller button. So we're going to head over into our inputs folder. We're going to go into our input actions. Okay, and I've got one here already because I've been playing around with it, but I'm going to delete this one and start again from the beginning with this one. I can replace this as well, so force delete that for now. So we should have our jump, our mouse look, and our move. So as we covered in the last episode, these two here are our vector 2D inputs. Okay, so they're using the mouse's X and Y, or they're using an X and Y sort of function to be able to control your ups and downs and your lefts and rights. Our jump is a simple key press, it's a boolean, and so we can use that again because that's just a simple on or off key press. So I'm going to copy this, Control C, Control V. I've got my new input action. I'm going to rename it. I'm going to call this one IA interact. Okay, and because all we need to care about with these right now is it's a button press. Okay, there's not really much I need to go in there and do for now. Okay, so heading back to my inputs, I'm going to go into my mapping context, open this one up here. I'm going to full screen it. So if I go my drop down, I've got my mapping. So I've got my jump, my look, my move. This is where the old interact was that I was working on previously is. So if I go on that one there and look for my IA interact, go on the drop down there. I've preset it to E already, but you can set it to whatever you want, so I'm going to keep it as E. At this point, that's all I need to do. I don't need to add any modifiers because it's going to be just for now a simple press E to interact. That's simple as. Okay, so save that, close my mapping context down. I need to then go to my player character, my BP player underscore character. Open that one up into my blueprints, and I've got all the code from last time. So I've got by setting my local player subsystem for my inputs. I've got my jumping, my camera input, and my movement input all here, nice and commented, nice and clean. So I'm going to go down and find some empty space. down here, I'm going to right click and search IA underscore. Okay, and this is why I always name things, you know, with the prefix before it, because it makes it easy to find things in your lists. So if I put IA underscore, it's going to give me all of my enhanced action events. Okay, and you should see your IA underscore interact. So click on that one there. It gives us a red node. So with this one, we want to look at started. I covered before, you know, the triggered, started, ongoing, and sort of what that does, but just a little bit of a recap. Triggered will be a constant firing of, you know, that key press. So if I hold down E, it'll keep firing this infinitely on a tick as many times as I hold it down for. Started is a single key press. Okay, ongoing is once it's been clicked down and it's ongoing. So similar to the holding down, but it's after the press has gone down, and so on and so forth. So we're going to stick with started, right? So we are going to cast out from our player a line trace. We need to calculate the starting point and the ending point, and it's going to give us this line, this raycast, that is going to hit certain objects, and from that we can sort of bounce back information from there. So from started, if I go off of there and do line trace by channel, you'll get this node here. Gives you two vector nodes to connect, so you've got your start and your end points. You've got your trace channel, so keep that as visibility. You can do complex traces, certain actors in an array that you can ignore, what kind of debug, so actually visualizing your line trace for now, and then obviously ignoring its own trace. With line trace, it's kind of hard to hit your own trace, but you can have that as well. So with this, we need to calculate where this is going to be fired from, where it's going to end up, and to make sure it goes in a straight line. So looking at nearly every FPS game, doesn't matter if it's a shooter or if it's just an exploration game, for interacting, it's always going to sit at the center of your screen, okay? Because naturally that's where you're looking, that's where it's going to aim to. So the way we do that is we actually take this line trace, we fire from the center of our camera, because the center of our camera mathematically is the center, is the 0 of our screen, on our sort of X and Y of the screen in terms of pixels. So we need to get a reference to the camera. So on the top left, go to our components tab and drag down your camera. So with this, we need to then get a few different bits of information in terms of its location and its direction. So off of camera, I want to do get world location. And that's going to find the center point of my camera and its location. I'm going to plug that into my start. Okay, because that's going to go, right, cool, I'm at the middle of the camera, good to go. We now need to get the direction in which it's facing to then add some distance to it. So from here as well, we do get forward vector. And that's going to give us the direction in which we are looking. So we've got a starting point, which is the world location of the camera. But now we've got a forward vector. But actually, if I was just to plug this in, it would just stay at the same place, just facing in that direction. We need to multiply this value to get some distance on it. Okay, so if I drag off this and do an asterisk or search multiply, you'll get a multiplication node. Now, naturally, it will give you a, you know, whatever the adjoining variable type is. So it's a vector times a vector. So we want to change this to be a float value so we can actually multiply it by a number and not just another vector. So if I right click this pin and I convert it to a float single precision, if you're going super precise, you can go double precision down there, but single precision will be absolutely fine. So you see now if I do that, it will convert to a green pin, which is your float. And this is going to be the distance in which your line trace travels from the camera to its endpoint. So I'm going to put this as just the default is 500. You can tinker with this later on if you wish, but I'm going to keep it to 500. If you wanted to have this as something that can change due to gameplay for any reason, you could promote this to a variable and have it change dynamically depending on what you choose. But for now, we're going to keep it simple. All right. So now what we need to do, we've got this multiplied value, which is saying times this forward vector by 500 to push it forward. What we then need to do is add our world vector, okay, our world location, to this number to give us our endpoint. So let's do add as an operator. Because they're both vectors, we don't need to convert this. So this vector plus this vector. And this is then going to go into our endpoint up here. And this is a very, very simple line trace sort of algorithm in a sense. once you start using line traces and you're using from the cameras and you're trying to get this forward direction and you know, pointing in the way of the camera, you will use this calculation tons. It'll become muscle memory to you. Okay. So I want to be able to visualize this line trace. So on my draw debug type, I'm going to go down there and go for duration. So for one frame, it does what it says on the tin. It will appear for a frame. For duration, you can set how long you want it to stay sort of active in the world for. And persistent, it will just never go. I usually go for duration, and you can drop down here and change it to however long you want it to be. So I'm going to go for 2 seconds. So it'll stay for 2 seconds, and you can change the colors of the line trace as well. Okay. So if I was to compile this and save it, golden rule, go to my game, click play, and now if I press E, you'll see I've got a line that fires from the center of my camera. Okay, so no matter what, it's firing from that center point, and it's always going directly forward by 500, like that. It lasts for about 2 seconds, just while I'm seeing it. The duration time doesn't actually account for like how long it keeps firing. That's purely just a debug, so you can see it in action and make sure it's actually firing in the right directions. So now you're thinking, okay, we've got a line trace, it's shooting a little line, what's that going to do for me? And what we want to figure out here is then what information can we receive from this, right? So on our line trace, you've got your out hit and your return value, okay? Out hit is where we want to be, okay? Your out hit is, you can see here, it's a blue pin, so it's a struct. Basically, it's going to be a list of variables that you can receive from this. So if I drag down off of here, and you break hit result, I get this small pin that has a drop down arrow. If I drop that down, you get a whole heap of variables, okay? So in this struct, this is what you can receive from your line trace. So whatever it hits, you can receive certain bits of information. So you've got your blocking hit, which is a Boolean. So has it actually hit something, yes or no? The time in which it's hit it. The distance between yourself or the start trace anyway, which is you, and the object you've hit. The location on the vector. An impact point, your normal, your impact normal, which is the sort of the direction of the polygons that you're hitting. The physics material, the hit actor. So if you've hit a blueprint, you can receive information from there as wildcards. The component of that, bones, the lot. Okay, there's tons of things you can get. It's a really data heavy action that you're doing, and you get a lot out of it. So we need a way of processing this, and then we also need a way to send out a notification that's saying, okay, I've interacted with this object using, I've interacted with a specific actor, and I want it to do a certain thing depending on what the actor is. And this is where interfaces come in. So we're going to leave this just for the time being. I'm going to compile and save this as it is. We are going to go back to our main screen. You can also, in your blueprints, do control space and bring this up as well. I don't really like to use that. I'm a bit of an old-fashioned Unreal 4 guy, and I'd go back to the main menu every time. Unreal 5, you can bring it up in these menus, which is really good, but it's muscle memory for me, So back to my menu here. I'm going to create a new folder in here, and I'm going to call this one Interfaces. So if I open that one up, if I right-click in here now and go to Blueprint, is it Blueprint? No, it is Blueprint. Yeah, it is Blueprint. Yep. So Blueprint, I forget what things are sometimes. Blueprint and Blueprint Interface. Okay, if I click on that one there, I'm going to call it, and again, using the right sort of prefixes and stuff, I_interaction interface. Okay. So there's loads of things you can do with interfaces, and the best way to think about it, and the logo kind of does it justice a bit, really. Think about it sending and receiving. So on one end, with our line trace, we're sending a message, we're sending a notification, and it's quite illustrated by the nodes. It gives you like a little like a letter, like a envelope logo on that, and it is doing just that. You're sending a message, and then when you have a receiving thing that you've hit that actually is allowing you to receive these messages, it will then do whatever you've told it to do depending on what the object is. All right, so it's a really powerful tool that you've got casting, which you might have used before, which is great, and you can use it for certain things, but there's limitations to it. With this one, you can really bridge the gap between a lot of different things and builds a lot of interaction. Okay, so if I open this one up, you'll be given a scripting space, and you've got a list of functions. So these functions essentially can be different things. So you could have a function just for interacting. You could have a function for getting into a vehicle. You could have a function for picking up a weapon. Okay, and you can have them carry over different bits of information and different variables depending on what you want it to do. I'm going to create a simple interaction one. Let's call it interaction, or interact, in fact, might be better. Interact. Okay. And at this point, we don't need to do anything because we're only using it for a bridge right now. We're not sending data through it. We can do that later. So I'm going to compile this and save it. So I can't just jump in and chuck it straight into any of my code. I've got to essentially apply this interface to the different things I want to interact with. All right. So on my BP player character, I'm going to go to my class settings, go down to the bottom right, and you'll see interfaces here. You'll see implemented interfaces. If I drop down, there's none currently active. So I need to activate them. So I want to search on this little drop down for my interface. So I_ interaction interface should be just there. Click on that one there, compile it, and you'll see now on the bottom left on your sort of menu over here, you'll see interfaces pop up with a little yellow box. This means that it's active, it's there, and you can start grabbing the functions. So this interface tab with the interact underneath, that is your function that we just created in our interface, which is over here. So now I've got my character. He has that, and I can send that data out, but I haven't got anything to receive it yet and to actually give it something to do. So this is where I need to go and create myself a new blueprint. This is going to be more of a testing one, just to show you what it can do. Okay, so on my untitled, okay, on my game over here, go back out into here. I'm going to create a new folder again. I'm very picky with my folders. Things need to be nice and neat. I do advise it as well, because if you're handing your code off to anyone else, or if you're coming back after not being able to work on your game for a long time, you need to know where things are. Okay, so for this one, I'm going to call it Interactables. So in my Interactables folder, if I right click, blueprint class, and create a new actor, I'm going to call this one BP_interactable_item, like that. So this is going to be just like a base item, where we can, in the future, probably delete. This is purely just for testing, and to give you the idea of what we can do with this function. So open this one up. Just for now, I'm going to give it some geometry. So I'm going to get a cube in here just for now, like that. I'm then also going to go to my class settings like we did before. Click on there and add my interface in here. So both sending and receiving ends need to have the interface implemented into it. So I_interaction interface. And you can see I've got it down here. And compile it. So step one, we need to send the message. So in our character, on our line trace by channel, okay, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put a branch. If I hold B and left click, or search for branch, add one of those in there. And basically I'm going to make it so this is sort of like a double check to make sure that we're not wasting calculation, if that makes sense. So in my blocking kit, I'm going to plug it into here. And this is going to say, okay, if I haven't hit anything at all, it's not going to do a thing. So from the false, we're going to leave it as it is. But if it's true, we are going to send that message, that interact message. So from true, if I search interact, and it won't always come up straight away. And if it doesn't come up here as it is, you want to take off context sensitive. We're looking for interact in brackets message, which is this one just here. Okay. So if it doesn't pop up, untick context sensitive and have a look for it in there. So interact message, and you'll see it's got this little envelope logo. Okay. And what this is going to do, this is going to send this out depending on what actor we've hit. If it hits an actor that doesn't have the interact interface on it, it's not going to do anything. It's just going to do nothing. But if it does have the interact interface on it, like so, if I plug this into my target here, it's going to send this message that it's been hit. Then my object, so my BP interactable item up here, if I go to my event graph, okay, delete some of this stuff here, don't need any of that. I need to receive it now. And to receive it, I need one of my red pins, my sort of executables. So this interface here, if I double click it, the little orange logo one, I'm going to get a red pin, okay? And this is my interface event, all right? So to give you a rough idea, in my character, once this fires off and gets sent, okay, with the hit actor, which is going to receive whichever actor I've hit. Currently, right now, if I've hit my BP interactable item, that's going to go, cool, I've hit you and you've got the interface. Therefore, after this code is what's going to happen when I hit it. Okay, so just for a test right now, if I do a print string, and in here put, you have hit me, ouch, just for fun. Compile that, okay, go into my game. I'm going to drag my cube in here for now. Click play. So obviously if I walk around and press E on things, nothing's going to happen. But if I hit my cube, you have hit me. Ouch. Yeah? So it is fired off this bit of information. Now the powerful thing about this is that, yeah, you can fire things off and have things do things. But equally, I can access all of this data. I've then got a complete access to my, that object I've hit. So I can get all the data from that object from this pin. So I can get, if this is a pickup or an item or an object that has certain data to it. So if it gives you like health, or if it gives you like a buff or double jump, we can send all of the information from my, the interactable that we've logged into this bit of blueprint into our player character to apply that data. So it's a really powerful tool to be able to send and receive information between blueprints. So it's just great. I absolutely love it. So what we can do to give you a bit more of an example of the things you can do in here is if I go very quickly in this interactable just for now, just as a test, create myself a new material. Let's call this m_red. I'm going to copy and paste it. I'm going to do m_green. Like that, right? So on red, all I'm literally going to do is change my base color to red, like that. Apply it, that's fine. This is purely for a test. This is nothing functionality, it's just to show you what we can do with it. Then on green, do the same thing again, set that to green, like that. So as a base material in my interactable item, I'm going to set my cube to have green. Okay, so by default, my cube is going to be green. But I'm going to have it so I can flick between the two materials when I press E on it. Okay, so I delete my print string here. If I take my cube and do set material, then I'm then going to get another one like that. And plug them both in so they both have reference to my cube. After this, I'm going to put in a flip-flop, which goes from A to B to A to B to A to B, okay, each time you hit it. So when you first hit it, it's going to set it to red, because it's default green. Then I'm going to set it back to green on the opposite side of the flip. So if I compile this, go into my game, I can go to my cube and go, okay, and I can get it to do anything I want it to do. You could play an animation at this point. You could set off a particle effect. You could play a sound effect. You could have it so like if it's a chest, the chest opens and you can see what's inside. It can then transfer data to you in terms of score or points. If you press E on it, it gives you a certain amount of XP. Yeah, this is the interaction. It's going from the player to then sending out a message and receiving information on one side, then being able to have it do something, really. So that is line tracing and interactive interfaces. Okay, implemented interfaces. They're awesome. I love them. They're really, really useful. And I hope this tutorial lesson session, I guess, has been useful for you as well. Your next session on this little tutorial series will be looking at enums and structs and data tables, and looking how we can create a bit of a item system in a sense. Think of Bethesda, think of Fallout, all the items in the world, creating a system where we can work with multiple objects in a really optimized way and give it all the data and information you need. So thank you for watching. Really appreciate you stopping by. There's going to be a lot more content coming on this channel as well, and I look forward to providing that for you guys. So I will see you in the next one.